Look at the driest desert on Earth. You'll find hundreds of miles of barren dirt, until the ground suddenly gives way to massive, organized geometry. This hummingbird is nearly the length of a football field. It's one of over 1,000 shapes and tracks carved into the Peruvian dirt between 500 BCE and 500 CE. The Nazca people built these monuments without a single piece of aerial technology. They had no balloons, no gliders, and no nearby hills tall enough to look down on their work. A society surviving in a harsh desert dedicated staggering amounts of time and labor to carve masterpieces into the earth that they could never physically see completed. We only learned about these designs because commercial pilots flew over the region in the 1920s. From the very beginning, modern humans saw the lines from the sky, which heavily biased how we interpreted their purpose. By the mid-20th century, researchers like Paul Kosak and Maria Rajka concluded the shapes were a colossal astronomical calendar designed to track stars and seasonal changes across the desert floor. Then, the 1970s brought the idea that these long tracks and humanoid figures were landing strips for alien visitors. While that theory sold a lot of books, it has zero physical evidence to support it. Observing these lines exclusively from the air obscured the physical reality of how they functioned on the ground. Stand right next to a geoglyph and the majestic shapes vanish. You are left staring at shallow, unassuming grooves barely scratching the surface of the earth. The engineering relies on a simple subtractive technique. Builders manually brushed aside the dark, sun-baked rocks on the surface to expose the pale, unoxidized soil underneath. Archaeologists believe the Nazca scaled their designs by superimposing a grid over a small sketch, then recreating a vastly larger version across the desert. By mapping it mathematically, they transferred points from the sketch directly to intersections on the massive desert grid. The process replaces mysticism with extreme community coordination and total trust in a mathematical system, executing a plan they could not visually verify. Down in those shallow trenches, physical evidence tells a very active story. The soil inside many of the lines is highly compacted, clearly indicating centuries of heavy human foot traffic. Some of the long, straight tracks align directly with underground aquifers and fault lines, acting as literal map pointers to the rare water sources keeping the civilization alive. Meanwhile, the animal shapes appear to be ceremonial routes. Communities would physically walk the continuous loops of the figures, functioning as a moving prayer to mountain deities for rain. The Nazca used these geoglyphs as interactive, essential infrastructure, ceremonial tools and navigation aids built to sustain a civilization in an unforgiving desert. After nearly a century of researchers mapping the desert by hand, a 2024 partnership between Japan's Yamagata University and IBM introduced an artificial intelligence system to the search. This map shows how the AI models operate. By processing enormous datasets of high-resolution aerial imagery, the system isolates faint geometrical anomalies in the soil that are entirely invisible to the human eye. In just 6 months, the scan returned a staggering result, discovering over 300 previously unknown geoglyphs. Notice the size and placement of these new finds. They are much smaller, depicting llamas and human figures, and they are intentionally positioned right next to ancient footpaths. The Nazca Lines served two different audiences. The colossal geometric figures were carved for the sky, while hundreds of smaller, intimate messages were built specifically for travelers walking the trails. Today, this ancient archive is in immediate danger from modern development, illegal mining operations, and off-road vehicles. Because the markings are merely shallow scratches in the dirt, a single rogue tire track can permanently erase a 2,000-year-old artifact in seconds. The recent AI scans strongly suggest that hundreds and possibly thousands of lines remain hidden out there in the dust. Preserving this ancient archive from modern carelessness is now the primary objective, ensuring we don't lose the history written in the sand before we have the chance to read it. Ever since the 1920s, looking down at the Nazca Desert has felt like looking at a message meant for someone else. The sheer scale of these geometric shapes convinced early observers that they were designed for alien visitors or sky gods. Testing any theory about their true purpose was a logistical nightmare. Archaeologists spent decades attempting to manually map 400 square kilometers of heavily eroded Peruvian desert, a process that required scanning vast, featureless terrain on foot. The discovery of the ancient orcoglyph highlights this difficulty. After spotting the image in a 1960s German catalog with poor location data, it took archaeologists years of searching the hillsides on foot and scanning Google Earth just to relocate that single 200-foot carving. The immensity of the desert and a heavy reliance on high-altitude perspectives created a data bottleneck. Without a way to map the entire region at once, the broader logic connecting these lines remained invisible. That bottleneck broke when researchers partnered with IBM to deploy artificial intelligence. AI geospatial models scanned high-resolution aerial imagery to flag potential geoglyphs, identifying priority areas far faster than human observation alone. In just 6 months of field surveys, this AI-accelerated process identified 303 new figurative geoglyphs. Nearly doubling the known dataset overnight allowed researchers to identify a clear spatial pattern. For the first time, it was possible to see exactly where different types of glyphs were placed across the landscape. This AI-generated map revealed a highly organized, ground-level network that had been hiding in plain sight. The first part of this network is found on winding trails crisscrossing the desert's outskirts. Here, the AI identified a high concentration of relief-type glyphs, images created by stacking stones or scraping away the dark surface to reveal lighter earth. These relief glyphs were etched into steep hillsides, sitting within easy viewing distance of the ancient paths. The motifs in these carvings are human-centric, depicting humanoid figures, domesticated llamas, and decapitated heads. Their placement suggests they functioned as billboards for travelers. These images transmitted information to individuals or small groups of pilgrims walking the trails. The spatial logic changes as these hillside trails descend toward the pampas, the wide, flat plains of the desert floor. On the flat plains, the small hillside images give way to massive linear and trapezoidal geoglyphs that stretch for hundreds of feet. Unlike the human motifs found on the trails, these giant line-type glyphs primarily depict wild animals. These giant glyphs were built for community-level ritual activities. These massive spaces served as ritual plazas, designed to be occupied and walked upon during ceremonies. Every path in this network, from the billboard-lined trails to the massive ritual plazas, eventually converges on a single destination. This is Kawachi, a site containing over 40 adobe mounds and tiered pyramids overlooking the Nazca Lines. Kawachi's permanent population was actually quite small. It functioned as a pilgrimage center, a temporary hub where the population surged during major ceremonies. Pilgrims arriving at the center left behind high-status offerings, including labor-intensive textiles featuring intricate, colorful depictions of mythical beings. Excavations revealed evidence of more visceral ritual practices, including the offering and burial of human trophy heads, found with carrying cords still attached. Kawachi was the spiritual heartbeat of the Nazca civilization. It was the destination giving meaning and direction to every line and trail in the desert. This bird's-eye view reveals how the geoglyphs form an interconnected web, stretching across the plains toward the mountains. The Nazca civilization possessed no written alphabet. They did not record their history or their laws in books. They used the landscape itself as their text, writing their culture and their beliefs directly into the earth. It took 21st century artificial intelligence to finally allow us to read this ancient text the way the Nazca intended, by tracing the patterns from the ground up. The lines created a massive, interactive sacred map. This landscape functioned as a physical framework for pilgrimage, binding a civilization together through the shared ritual movement across the desert.